You know that feeling, right? It's not really hunger, it's more like a pull, a kind of pressure that builds up inside you before you even start eating. So let's explore what's really happening here, because I guarantee it's probably not what you've been told. This pressure, it's there before you even open the fridge, Before you've even made a conscious choice. It feels almost automatic, like it has a life of its own.
And that's the part that can feel so isolating, so lonely. You know it while it's happening, you know it afterward, and that feeling just seems like this big, unanswerable question. But the answer isn't about having more willpower. We're going to break down the actual mechanism that's at play.
So, what is really going on here? Let's get past all the usual stuff about lack of control and look at the real reason, the one that might finally make this whole experience make sense.
Okay, first things first. We've got to start with the most important part, asking the right question. Because, as it turns out, the questions we usually ask ourselves, they're actually part of the problem.
This is the one, isn't it? Our go-to question. But it's not really a question, it's a verdict. It just assumes that you are the problem, that something inside you is broken. But what if that's not the right way to look at this at all?
Here is the crucial shift. This is everything. Instead of seeing this as some kind of failure of discipline, we need to ask, what problem is this behavior actually trying to solve for me? The moment you ask, what is this doing for me, the entire picture just changes.
And to answer that new question, we have to understand what your nervous system is really trying to do. And let me tell you, its primary job might actually surprise you.
See, its main goal isn't happiness or perfect self-control. It's just regulation. When you're overwhelmed or stressed or lonely, its only job is to find the fastest way possible to bring you back to a state you can handle. And believe me, it is very, very good at its job.
So, how did this connection even get made in the first place? Well, your brain, through a really simple but powerful process, learned to file food under the category of solution. It happens just like this. A trigger, let's say it's stress, occurs. Your nervous system immediately reaches for something that works, and in this case, that's food. Eating releases dopamine, which gives you this brief, reliable shift in how you feel. So your brain learns, okay, this helps when things feel like they're too much. This isn't a character flaw, it's just learning. It's how we're wired.
But wait, if it's just a learned pattern, why does it feel so impossible to break? Well, this is where a really powerful emotion enters the picture and creates this vicious cycle. And that emotion is shame. Now, this is the critical insight. We tend to think that shame is the thing that's going to finally force us to stop, that if we just feel bad enough, we'll change. But the truth is the exact opposite. Shame isn't the exit from this loop. Shame is the engine that keeps it running.
So, the loop starts here with the act of eating. Your nervous system has just used its trusty, reliable tool to manage an overwhelming feeling. And then, right on cue, shame arrives. Ugh, you know that feeling, that familiar drop, that weight. And shame comes with a really powerful message. You have to fix this. This is wrong.
And how does shame try to fix the problem? Through restriction. It's that voice in your head that says, okay, that's it. Tomorrow we start over. We're going to be good. We're going to deprive ourselves. And on the surface, that sounds like the logical solution, right?
But restriction and deprivation, they don't lead to peace. They just create this immense internal pressure. And this pressure just builds and builds and builds until your whole system is once again in a state of total overwhelm.
So, what does your nervous system do when it's completely overwhelmed by all that pressure? It reaches for the fastest, most reliable regulation tool it knows, and the whole cycle begins again. You see, you're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because the very solution you've been taught to use is actually fuel for the cycle. So if willpower and restriction are actually part of the problem, what on earth works? The way out isn't about more force. It's not about white-knuckling it. It's about something much, much quieter. It's about a totally different quality of attention. This right here is the fundamental shift. Instead of meeting that urge with that old, tired voice of accusation, ugh, why am I doing this again? You can try meeting it with just a little bit of gentle curiosity. What's happening in me right now? The goal isn't even to stop it. It's just to understand it. And that tiny change starts to build the one thing that shame completely destroys, the ability to just be present with your own experience.
So let's bring this all together with one final and I think crucial reframe.
After all of this, the most important thing to take away is this: you are not, and you have never been, broken.
This behavior, it was never a sign of failure. It was actually a sign of a nervous system doing the absolute best it could with the tools it had at the time. Food was the fastest thing that worked. And that's not a verdict on your character. It's just a description of what your brain learned to do when nothing else was available.
So I'm going to leave you with one last question to think about. Just reflect on this for a second. When was the first time you had that little flicker of knowing, maybe it was just now watching this, or maybe it was long before, that this whole thing was never really about the food at all?